My name is Nina Bual, and thank you so much for coming today to talk to us and listen more about kids' videos and gaming online. We are Cyberlite, and this is just a little bit about me, and you can have a look at our website while I continue to have a conversation. What we tend to do is we get a lot of time to speak to you about broad topics about cyber safety, AI literacy. And today I'm really excited because we actually get to deep dive into one topic that we get asked the most about, and that's gaming and talking about our children and gaming. So we're going to really deep dive into this one thing. We do other subjects, and do watch out as we continue to work through the year, bring in new, exciting new topics where we can really deep dive into. What I'd like to do and what sort of journey I'd like to take you on is to learn more about our children's gaming spaces. To give you an idea, I have 3 children who enjoy gaming, a 7, a 12, and a 13-year-old. In my world, my 7-year-old is actually the gamer, and it's always forcing my boundaries, pushing my perimeters to really ask for things that in every presentation I'm saying that your kids can't have. So it's really awkward, and I understand where we are with this conversation. And I know that sometimes I allow him access to things that maybe he wasn't ready for, or I've decided to dial back on. So I'm not saying that we get it right, but I have explored this and I understand where we are and how I've made his world safer, and how we've managed to work with schools and governments to really see how we can give the best advice out there. So the other thing I want to do is to explore how we can build positive habits into games. Yes, I will mention parent controls. I will support you in putting your settings in place. We can do all of that within this hour. However, as you know, if you have kids, they will get round these. They will get to certain times where they know to turn the parent control off, or the parent control does not limit the habit that you are trying to control, or your kids are just too old and this isn't working for you anymore. So we really need to know, how do we build those positive habits and that critical thinking? And often that's just telling them things about the games they may not have noticed before. And once you see the manipulative behaviors behind games and how it draws our children in, sometimes that's enough. Knowing what's happening, they can start making really good decisions as well. And then thirdly, we want to welcome the support angle, understanding behavioural patterns to look out for. And we do get asked a lot of questions about gaming addiction, children who are spending too much time in games, and what can we do about that? And again, as a mum, I've been there. And also as a professional, we have some really good advice that you can lean into. In terms of questions, please feel free to write them in the comment box, and Michelle will get to them at the end. I won't be monitoring as I speak, but we will have time to answer those questions. Take your time to take screenshots. In terms of who's in the room, normally I say, this is a parent presentation, kids should not be here. This one, there's only one video at the end. I wouldn't want younger children seeing, otherwise you can also learn together. So first of all, where are we in our digital journey? Something I open most of my presentations. So if you've seen me before, this is a repetition, but I find it very important to say. The average parent today spends only 46 minutes of the child's lifetime talking about cyber safety. So the fact that you've now dedicated an hour of your time to come in to have in this conversation puts you well apart from the herds who are not having this conversation. And we have over 200 parents on this call. So we also understand that this is something that a lot of parents want to know more about. But we need to start questioning ourselves and what type of parent we are. We've learned our parenting from our own, decided to parent like them, or decided to parent them nothing like them. But we've made those active decisions. But when it comes to online and learning how to parent online, we are making this up as we go along. We don't have a footprint before us because we didn't have this type of exposure. Even if you did have gaming in your life, it has changed rapidly. The gaming landscape has changed rapidly, and what your children are utilizing, the functions, the features, all of it have moved on. What's being marketed to your child and you are incredibly different. So we do need to stay on top of that. So I've looked into this, and we've really at Cyberlite found that there are 3 traits of characters of digital parents. So just sort of feel, is this you? So the first one is the newbie. has limited gaming experience, feels completely overwhelmed by the online world, and really just is unaware of what's really happening there, gets really overwhelmed with parental settings, has not set them up. Interestingly, only 10% of parents, according to Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook, have actually gone over to set up parent controls. And in Singapore, I'll share some of that data. It is higher, but we don't tend to use them as much as we can. And the newbie is focused on basic safety messages like screen time and monitoring what they're viewing when they see it. The second one is the cautious pilot. They have basic gaming knowledge. They sort of know what's out there, what their children are using. They play occasionally with their children so they can get some of the language, and they understand the dangers. They understand that they need to be on this call, but they want to know more. They're at a space where they want to explore more. And then we have the gaming master. This is that parent that you meet who actually, when they find out that they're having a baby, one of the visuals they have in their head is, one day I'm going to sit down and game with my child. Gaming is a very important part of their world, and they can't wait for their child to embrace it with them. So they are a mentor, they're a guide, they're really comfortable with the risks that are out there and understand the parent controls that they wish that were set up, and they set them up themselves. And they're fostering a parenting connection around gaming. And that's something really important for us to say. Gaming is not bad. It is not wrong. It's something our children do, and it's definitely here to stay. So none of this conversation is about drawing our children away from their games. It's about navigating those games safely and understanding how to monitor or limit if we feel as a parent that we need to in that circumstance. So let's have a look at Singapore, first of all, and look where we are. We were delighted to see that the government, the Media Literacy Council, had spent a lot of time and energy putting together research about gaming and our children. So this is information that was launched this year, is very current. And here in Singapore, only 22% of parents use parent-controlled apps. 25% of parents are unaware of what their children are doing online at all. Being in classrooms, we at Cyberlite are in classrooms every week. I will tell you that number is a lot higher. 36% of children admitted to speaking to strangers online. Again, when I go into a classroom, from the age of 11 upwards, children up to 80% of them do say they have spoken to strangers online. And what you'll see is when we talk about their games, they actually push our children to speak to people online. And 1 in 5 are bullied online, and 50% are gaming daily. 38% have seen vulgar and violent content. So here we are with the rest of the globe in a space where our children are seeing harm and risk in their gaming lives. Now, what games are our children on? I'm just going to pause before I show the slide and see if you guess the right game. Which game is most famous in the world that most children are now utilizing? You're correct. It is Roblox. In fact, I will go into Roblox in more detail, but it is astonishing how many children are on Roblox. Studies in the US show that 3 out of 4 children are using Roblox. So that's, the majority of the population. From what we see and hear in Singapore, we do not differ from that, and we will share some global figures with you. After Roblox is Minecraft. Minecraft is a Microsoft product. I won't be going into much detail with Minecraft today, but if your child is obsessed with Minecraft, as mine are, Xbox and Microsoft have some great parenting settings up there. Cyberlite worked very heavily with them to come up with a toolkit. So you just need to type in Microsoft Xbox toolkit, and you'll find some really good guidance there to help you with that. And then the others are Clash of the Titans, Brawl Stars, and who would you choose? Who would you rather? And so there's questions that you either choose one or the other. These are the top 5 games globally and in Singapore that are utilized by our children. They're split into 2 categories, paid for and unpaid for. So the Brawl Stars, what would we choose? And who do we rather? they're actually free to utilize. So is Roblox as you enter it. And with the free ones, we have this troublesome risk that we will talk about, which is the free advertising that can be inappropriate. When you are on what would you choose, what you'll find is you're continuously advertised a different game that takes your children out of the game they started with, ask them for games and seeing adverts that are incredibly inappropriate. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. There's no pop-up ad block. And this is something we need to judge and have a look at if we want our children to be viewing those things. Now, when it comes to the risks in games, Cyberlite has created a framework where we believe all children should be aware of risks on every platform. And I will be going through these as we enter through each game to discuss them in more detail. So children are at risk and should have more knowledge about their digital identity, their name, their personal information, your credit card details that seem to go missing quite a lot through these games. Privacy and information, that's actually the setup of the game, and your device. Are your devices set up correctly? Do you have 2FA on their accounts? These are their primary accounts. Their Roblox accounts is the most important account in their life. Do you have those types of controls on there that their peers can't steal their account, there can't be phishers or groomers who are trying to get into their account and then posing to be them. So making sure that those things are out there. Misinformation and disinformation, phishing and scams, we're seeing a rapid increase of our children being the target to phishing and scams and into your bank accounts. And then online relationships, groomers, scammers, and cyberbullying. So these are the things we'll explore as we move forward. And we will start with Roblox. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of Roblox. Roblox is a phenomenon. It became a massive phenomenon in COVID, actually, when people really had time on their hands and wanted to explore. And Roblox also saw that there was a real way of innovating and came up with Roblox Cash, and putting that purchasing mechanism into the game imploded it. Now, what's different about Roblox than any of the other games that I'm going to talk about? It's not actually a game. It's a platform. It's a platform where me and you, if we decided to, could come up with a game and then launch it onto the platform itself and really utilize the audience that Roblox has provided me. So it is also very heavily incentivized for our children to come up with games themselves and to sell them on Roblox. Now, with this, you get a lot of innovation and you get a lot of new games coming up, and that's also the excitement. Most of the games play into that child's need to role play. So where I may have role played back in the old day, the traditional, I had my own play kitchen. I had my own racing car with my sisters. That was my role play. Here, our children are going in and being able to role play in more innovative and creative ways. They can adopt a pet. They can become a streamer. They can be a fireman. They're playing these games and role playing within them. However, you have an incident where we will have people who have bad motivation creating games that our children really should not see and should not be part of. Now, with these, with every game that I come and discuss, there will be this sheet in front of you. Feel free to screenshot that and go down to the QR codes and set up your parent controls while we speak. I know how busy we all are, so if you utilize and you do have a second device, you can really get onto these things as well. So just talking about the fact that Roblox are a series of different games, it's important as parents that we go in and review the games that they have been watching and what they are utilizing. Now, in terms of usage of Roblox, in my house, it's high. But worldwide, the average child, and when we say child, we are talking 13 years old and under. When we go within the digital world, adult actually flips at the age of 13. So you'll see a lot of these games will say, and as if you saw beforehand, Roblox actually says you need to be 13 to use it because they understand the risk behind the game as well. But 13 and under are spending 3 hours a day on Roblox. And if you're here, you totally understand that to be true. Minecraft is a little less. Brawl Stars and Clash, you can see the figures there. Now, what are the issues that we see in Roblox? Let me go through those issues with you. First is Roblox generators. With the feature of Roblox Cash being invented, where children could buy and purchase things within the games, this was an incentive. So gaming developers also make money on their game as well. And our children then go back and they start to put more money into the game that they enjoy. So Roblox Cash became a commodity to our children. And from there, phishers, scammers, they have come up with ways to incentivize our children to go and find free Robux Cash, because us as parents are not giving it out readily. So there are, and if you type into Google now, free Robux, you will see the scams come up row by row by row. They are there to be utilized. So we need to have conversations with our children to explain nothing comes for free. My conversation always is, have you been outside and somebody just offered you free cash? If that's never happened in the real world, it's definitely not going to happen online. So to be very aware that if anyone's offering free Roblox Cash, it is always a scam. There's always also fake giveaways. Children really care what their avatars look like, the skins they're wearing. They like to have a look at loot boxes. And some of these things I will explain to you as we walk through. These are things that are very important and too good to be true in many circumstances. They are there to get your child's personal information. Let me explain that to you a bit more. Sometimes we get the feeling of, well, what's the point? All our children's personal information is out there already. You know, when I go to anywhere, they ask for NRIC numbers. Sometimes when I want a free gift in a mall, they'll ask me to share on Instagram a picture. You know, it's all been asked for anyway. No, but what the scammers and hackers can do, and with generative AI now, they can wait very patiently for your child to become 18 and then start generating credit cards in your child's name. They can find a lot of information about your child and start stealing identities. And that's a real issue that we see will be coming up for our children. So the more information that we can keep to ourselves, you know, do we need to do those Instagram competitions? Do we need to be giving out pictures of our children, etc.? We need to start thinking through the ramifications in the future of doing this. The other thing that your children will be able to tell you about as well is trading items. Now, I have my child who wants to trade a pet with his friend, but sometimes if they are speaking to strangers, and I will tell you, 80% of your children have the chat function on in Roblox. Roblox is designed to want you to turn that chat function on. And if you haven't done it, it is on. When I go to schools, I ask children, how many friends do you have in Roblox? They say 200. And it's only 200 because you are limited to 200 in Roblox. So please do check that as well. There is a word for this. It is called the pedophile playground. And that's something we really worry about with Roblox. It does attract a lot of the wrong types of characters, people who mean to harm your children by getting their photos or starting a conversation with them. So turn that feature off. And there are a lot of scams out there as well. The next slide I'm going to show you may not always be appropriate for children. So if they are in the room, you can turn them away. But there are people who come up with actual games that are inappropriate. So there's the Kim Kardashian tapes that are on there. There is bars such as the one you can see in front of me. So you need to navigate and understand, much like the real world. Do you know where your child is in the real world all the time? Do you know where they're exploring? Do they understand adult places and children's spaces? Those exact conversations have to happen when utilizing Roblox. We can't just let our children go out them and just not have these conversations with them. So what are the tips to utilizing of Roblox? As you can hear, I know all the issues, but my children do utilize it. It's very much part of their childhood, part of their experience with their friends. So it's about the critical thinking skills and for me to have eyeballs on what's happening. They are very clear that some of these tips here. Do not enter the password into a game. Once you're in Roblox, you never need to enter a password again. if there is a game asking for a password, they are doing it to get your password and it's exposed. Do not upload files onto Roblox. This is incredibly important. And do not trade items. The trading of items allows you to be exposed to risks. So for your knowledge, here's a quick guide on how to set up those settings on Roblox. You will see when you go into their Roblox account, something like this, where you'll see just big boxes on there. What you need to do is click into that and it will go into the settings, and then you click onto the privacy. Once you're in privacy, you will then click onto that and then go and put restrictions onto their account. You can see the green toggle there. And then turn off all their communication so they cannot communicate to anybody externally. They can communicate to friends. My request to you as well is always go check their friends list and make sure you know who the friend is, because the friend's name doesn't come up. It will be their gaming name. So you'll need to know who the gamer is behind that name. And then you can switch all that communication off there. So that's generally an idea about Roblox. So sometimes we really also need to question whether we really understand the world of our children and the world of gaming by the fact that they have so many different terminologies and words out there. So I've chosen to explore and give you some of the meanings behind those words so that you stay on top of things and you're aware of what our children are looking at. So the first one is loot boxes. Now, a loot box, very much, the pirate comes into mind, is a virtual container that contains random items and bonuses. Our children are really enforced to think finding a loot box is really important. They get very excited and the dopamine rush when they get a loot box. So many games will actually provoke our children to spending a lot of time looking for these loot boxes. Streamers. So streamers is a term for somebody who games, but also videos and then shows those videos to others to show them how to do it. Games are very sophisticated as our children get older, needs a lot of critical thinking and often a lot of support. There will be lots of hints, there'll be lots of things that they can learn, and they, children and adults love to watch other streamers to see how they do it. It is a skill, and that's something that we need to be really aware of. It's a skill you can get better at, and that's why our children love spending so much time and they adapt their skill while gaming. Grieving is intentionally disrupting the gameplay experience for other people or other players. This is something we need to be mindful of as parents when we say to our kids, put that device down now, that it can actually have effect on them and their gaming experience of others. And we'll go into how we navigate that when our children implode, when we get them to finish Fortnite in the middle of a game. How can we manage those situations? And then this really not very sophisticated acronym, MMPORG, which is massively multiplayer online role-playing game. So I had to read that off the board, as it were. This is massive, and I think we sometimes forget how big gaming communities are. This is when you can have thousands of people playing together. And just think of that in terms of the noise, the interaction in our ears as that's happening. It's a very, very interactive form of play where you play with thousands, helping, collaborate, and working together. Some others that you should be aware of is emote. This is a short animation or expression used by a character in a game to communicate with others. Skins, we are often paying for skins. This is a customization of the character. So when they're in the game, they may have something they've purchased to customize their look. This does not affect the gameplay. It does not make your game any better. It is as if I've just decided to change my dress. And flaming, this is when we get into the cyberbullying that we often see in games as well, is abusive or hostile messaging within the game. So these are just some game terms as a pause that we just know how our children are speaking online and we have the terminology and understanding around that. Now I'm going into another game, though not in the top 5, is a game that sort of transitions our children who are playing Roblox, who are playing, Brawl Stars, into the world of gaming, where there are more communities, where there are more people who are obsessed or groupies to a game, as it were, and there's a lot more sophistication to the game. So what is Fortnite? Fortnite is a popular online multiplayer game. It's vibrant, it has very cartoonish look, and it's incredibly fast-paced, which is why people love it. Each game is only 20 minutes. And in its nutshell, there's 100 people who start. Battle Royale is the one that most of us are playing. And these 100 people are trying to be the last one standing while the map is shrinking. So that generally is what it is. It became incredibly famous when celebrities like Drake started to film themselves, started to stream. Also dancing, they've got some amazing features where big international dances, you can get your character to do those dances within there. So it became incredibly big. So what do you need to know about Fortnite? Well, first of all, you need to understand the modes that you can play in. You can play as solo, duo, squad, and creative. It's important that we understand the differences between them because it then exposes them to strangers and who they are playing with. So if they are playing, as solo, or they know the person they're playing as a duo, they're playing with their friends, but it can get to a place where they're playing with absolutely anybody in the world. So it's something we need to be aware of. There are parent controls. They aren't the greatest, but they are there. It's important to go over there and make sure they don't have access to voice chat. We found that there's a lot of negativity around voice chat, and people who have been talking to our children and may have negative thoughts, fanatical thinking that we don't want our children exposed to, especially the language. The language can get quite vulgar when playing, and there's a lot of pressure. We know a lot of adult Fortniters don't like kids in the room and can be quite abusive if they think they're destroying the game. So to be aware of that as well, and set limits. Now, this is one of the games that can get highly addictive. This is where we start to see the gaming addiction per se. We'll talk about the word addiction in a minute, but that sort of addictive behavior start to come in for our children. So be aware that when introducing Fortnite, or if our children are playing Fortnite young, that we are doing so with some boundaries and limitations within that as well. So in terms of the issues that we have, or the scams that we see in Fortnite, they also have their own money, their own, online currency, and it's called V-Bucks. And there are the same V-Bucks scams that I just explained in Roblox. Account hacking is a huge thing. Account hacking often happens, as I say, by friends as well. So one of the things our children are doing is sharing passwords with each other of their accounts. And we know they fall out and they become friends again. And sometimes when people are annoyed, they have gone into each other's accounts. And that has been a huge issue. I think schools have seen this with social media, they've seen it with school emails. So something to be really aware of. Have a conversation about sharing, passwords. Would you share the key to your house? No, you would not. The same thing. There is a space for your friends, and there's a space where you stay incredibly safe as well. Online predators are there in Fortnite as well. Wherever there are children, you will find this issue there. So that's also something we should be aware of. And the same trading. Fortnite also has a trading feature, and their children are often scammed by adults who want the features, or the where you've paid the V-Bucks, they want that information. So to make sure that you're aware of that. Now, where the risk really comes in with our children in all these games is when games have communities of their own. The most exciting thing about games, and gamers will tell you, is they love their communities. For a lot of our children who may be introverted, neurodivergent, just don't have friends like them in their school, their gaming community is very important to them. They find their people and they find where they're most comfortable. So it's not always negative to be part of a community online. I'm sure we're all parts of communities online ourselves, where we go to Facebook groups that help us, or hobby groups that help us. It's the same with the gaming community as well. However, we can't monitor who's in those gaming communities all of the time. So our children need to understand, like any community, there are people there to support and help you, and there are people out there who will cause you harm. So one of the things to be aware of in gaming communities, if harmful and age and inappropriate content, and also people who want to get to know you, and then move you onto a new platform. Let me explain that in a bit more detail. So what we find is where we see that numbers of predatory behavior may be lower on platforms than we suspect. What's really happening is those games have been brilliant at putting in features that you can't have conversations that are explicit. They've made sure as soon as someone tries to say something explicit on Roblox or Fortnite, that gets blocked. But what predators do is they still stay on these platforms like Fortnite and Roblox. They form relationships with our children that are very innocent, and then they ask them to move across platforms. So they move them to Telegram or WhatsApp, which are encrypted, and then there are no foresight or eyeballs on the conversation. Nothing has been deleted. Anything they want to say can be said. So we really need to tell our children, if anybody you're gaming with then tries to say, let's now talk on Snapchat, let's now talk on WhatsApp, that's an absolute massive red flag. Talking on a platform like Fortnite about Fortnite is one thing, but then having conversations about other things in their lives and moving over to a completely different platform is something that we need to be incredibly aware of. And I don't think it's talked about enough, and children are not told enough that that is a huge red flag. That includes social media as well. You know, let's go and talk on Snapchat. Obviously, pictures on Snapchat vanish as soon as they're uploaded. And there have been some incredibly sad cases where children have gone from Fortnite to Snapchat and have been exposed to really, really bad content. So be aware of that. Now, what is a gaming community? If you're sitting on Fortnite, how are you forming relationships? How are you bonding, as it were? The gaming world has a lot of supporting features, a lot of supporting functions, and actually has businesses and apps themselves that support the whole thing. Discord is one of those. Discord is, in its nutshell, I'll just give you the slide actually, a digital platform which is designed for real-time communication. For me and you, if you're my age, it's a chat room, right? So there's different chat rooms that you can enter. We call them servers now, and you can share text, voice, and video with each other. So actually, it's not just built for the gaming community, though the gaming community, again, COVID, heavily embraced Discord. So while you're playing Fortnite, you may not be able to talk to each other. You can go to Discord, go into your chat room, your server with the people that you know, and you can communicate on your headphones at the same time. It's a saving grace to a lot of people who want to communicate at the same time as doing something. And that's not an issue if you know who's in the Discord room. The issue really comes when you are in rooms with complete strangers. And that's where our children are being exposed to grooming types of behavior. They're seeing inappropriate content. A lot of the videos and the that are shared with each other can be pornographic in nature. So something to be aware of. If your child is on Discord, be aware, again, like the real world, what rooms are they in? Who's in their rooms? What types of discussions are happening? That's a really important thing. So if you're exposing or thinking of allowing your child to have Discord, make sure you have some real clear rules and boundaries and explain to them why you put those rules and boundaries in place in the first place. That is really there to support their safety. And really keep that open dialogue. When it comes to gaming, I think this is the most important point, because we cannot watch them game all the time. We will go mad. That they really feel they can tell you what's happening. They're open to having a discussion about what happened, who may have tried to approach them, who may have spoken to them. And often they would tell you, my friend is speaking to this person, and you can have a conversation about why that could be a problem for them. So the big issue that we would like to really, drill down on and have a conversation, our children are being groomed. We do think in Singapore that we are safe, and of course our physical safety is brilliant. However, groomers rarely want to actually meet your children, because once they've done that, they've also exposed themselves. What they want is for your child to be sending photos and videos that they can manipulate, or they can manipulate your child to be doing something. So they may not never meet your child, or they may want them to start thinking like them. They may be spreading misinformation. It may be more innocent in terms of that predatory behavior, but they do want the ear of your child. So we need to teach our children red flags. So for my kids, I always have the green flags online and the red flags. The people who are positively motivated. Yes, you are allowed to go online and do iMaths as much as you may not want to. And then the red flags. What are those behaviors? What are those habits that I want you to realize are not good for you, and something that you need to think through is not good for your community either? So people asking for photos or videos. Anybody who's forming a bond with you and saying they love you, I always say to the children, they don't know how naughty you are. They may love you, but they don't know you. And that means you don't know them as well. Somebody who's manipulating them and asking a lot about the family and personal questions, trying to understand what's their relationship with their parent like, where are their vulnerabilities. We need to be sure that children who've been asked to keep a secret online really understand that nothing is secret online. If it's online, it is incredibly exposed. So don't keep secrets with people online. Maybe your best friend, definitely your parents, but not with people you've never met in real life. So that's important conversation. Think of the red flags that you also have come across, had in conversation with parents. What are the ones that you want to talk to your children about? That's really important for us to be aware of. I'm now going to move on to another space where online communities gather and watch. Now, the watching of other people playing games is incredibly confusing to people who are not gamers. If you are a gamer parent, you will totally get it. And the easiest way to really say it is like, if you want to be good and talented at something, you obviously want to watch people who are incredibly good and talented at it. And to not take gaming lightly in the fact that it is a skill, it is an art, and it is now an e-sport. So watching people who are incredibly good helps and supports people get better at the game themselves. It's actually like doing the homework, putting in the half graft. But is Twitch suitable for viewing for our children? Now, Twitch is the hardest one to ever put a parent control into. Actually, I would go as far as saying you can't really put one in there. I would not want to see children under the age of 13 coming over and utilizing Twitch, because it's live streaming platform. It's happening in real life. The language, the content is all happening incredibly fast. If you watch a Twitch video now, you can go over and have a look at it. It can be heavily inappropriate. The streamers can have incredibly bad language, really bizarre views as well. And the Twitch streamers are financially motivated. That's why they're there. They are earning a living there. And often our children can be convinced into giving money. So it's important to have that conversation with our children as well. Twitch does have a moderation and safety center. Go over and have a look at that. Have a look at the controls that are there. But this is one where I'd say it's really meant for older people to go over there. It's not something our children should be viewing or looking at. Now, I'm going to move into the conversation of gaming addiction. Now, gaming addiction is actually not a medical diagnosed term, as it were. It still falls under a sort of disorder, like a gambling disorder, and the traits of a gaming addiction are very similar to a gambling disorder. There's a lot of debate in terms of the medical world about if you can be addicted to games or not, and if it acts as an addiction like other addictions that you would have to withdraw from it forever, etc. So I'm not qualified to have that conversation, but gaming addiction, as me and you as a parent would term it, is an impaired control over gaming. Priority is given to the game over any other activities, and it's now starting to have a negative influence on our personal relationships and education. What it is not is my child, all they want to do is game, and they sat there and played a game for 3 hours. That's more of a parenting thing, of allowing our children 3 hours on that device. This is when there is a need, where children are missing school. They're not there in their classrooms. They are not forming relationships in the real world at all. And all their interests have gone down to just that game. Often game addiction will be around 1 or 2 games as well, where your children are fascinated or really want to be into that game all of the time. It is real in the fact that we see parents struggling. We see that people have got to a point where they're not going to school, or what we hear from teachers, arrive at school are incredibly tired and unable to focus because they've been gaming all night. So in that way, it's become incredibly in conversation that we need to have. So the first point of gaming addiction happens when there's an overexposure. And actually, I should just stop calling it an addiction, but the need for gaming all of the time, as it were. Now, so we need to have that conversation about screen time. So screen time, what happens when we're talking about screen time and gaming, as us as parents, we have to be aware that a game takes a certain amount of time. If they're gaming with others, they have an obligation, like in the community, they have an obligation to finish that game with their peers. So those are two things we need to recognize. So one of the things is to establish the boundary before they start gaming. So, okay, I'm going to allow you to game for an hour and a half. So if I come back in an hour and a half and you're in the middle of a 20-minute Fortnite game, that's on you. You're the one who's now affected your community and affected your friends. I gave you that boundary right at the beginning. So first of all, that's one thing. Use technology tools. It's really, really easy to scream at a parent, and we've all been screamed at when the device goes away. But it's harder to fight with a technology tool that tells them, look, your game time is over. You're shutting down for the day. So set those up. They parent for you. Schedule gaming times so that they're not always like, are you going to let me game today? Am I going to be able to speak to my friend at that time and do that? It is a community sport in that way. So yeah, on Saturday, you can tell your friend 7 to 9, you can game if you've done X, Y, and Z. And negotiate during special circumstances. Gaming, their community, they know when there's an event. They know when they need to show up. Be aware of that and allow that to happen. Have some respectability around it from both angles. You give so much and they will need to give you so much back is really important. Discuss these features with them. Now, in the old days when I used to game, so it was back when we had the computer in the middle of the living room, it was the only computer. And so honestly, screen time was monitored by the fact I had to share it with my sisters. I had to share it with my dad and my mum. So we didn't get much screen time at all. But when you went on to Munchman or Crocodile Math, you played the game and you'd get off. There was nothing else to it. Now, our children are dealing with psychological features that are always pulling them back. So notifications, things like that, that are always like a dog whistle to them. So these are some of them that I want you to be aware of and speak to your children about the feature. Why do we think the developers have put it there? And what bonus does it really have to us? Limited time events. Now that's the first one. Games often have a special event or a challenge that are only available for a limited duration. This is creating a sense of urgency and encourages players to log in regularly. Now, these features and calendar locks are there to ensure that our children come back. And even my 7-year-old will say to me, oh, I need to log on to this game because I'm going to get extra points. And I'm like, that's like a dog whistle. Someone is telling my child what to do. So I will speak to him on it and say, you actually don't need to do that. You can game on that game when you want to. It's very hard to convince a 7-year-old, but we have that conversation. So that's the daily login reward. You see this with social media. So if your child's also on Snapchat, they need to go back and to get their streak. Many games often have rewards that simply just give you a reward for logging in. That obviously helps them because they get extra revenue and it's something they're extremely excited about. And streak systems, exactly the same thing. One of the things that I would implore you to do for yourself and also for your child as well is to go away and look at the notifications that are whistling to us all the time. You, while I'm speaking, may have had a notification from Lazada, from Shopee. Do you need them? Is it important that Tadar tells you you'll have $2 off today? Do you need that right away? Can you limit your notifications so these apps don't have your mind share all of the time? A very important conversation to have with our kids because we are allowing other people to manipulate our children for their financial gain. And we need to really show our children those features so that they can understand as they grow up, because they are forming habits that are negative towards them and we want them to pull away from. The other issue is purchases. inline purchases and apps, they start very low. So if you go to Roblox, the first thing your child will ask for is a $2.99 purchase, and then it'll be $3.99, and then it will quickly flip up to a $50 purchase. This is all, again, designed to get your child's mind share, and it's a sunk cost fallacy. Oh, I've already bought that much, so maybe if I just top it up, I can get better, or I can get more. Again, this is a manipulating tactic that we will need to be aware of. It's also causing that gaming requirement, that addictive nature of gaming, that if you keep spending more time, you keep getting called back, that you feel that you need to be there all the time. So how do we deal with this? And one of my top questions we get asked is, but how do I get my child not to have so much screen time? What do I do about it? They always want to game. It's the same as in my house as well. The very important conversation is there's a difference between autonomy and independence. Autonomy and allowing your child autonomy is, you can dress the way you want, you can listen to the music you like, you can have the friends that you've picked. Independence online is very different. Granting our children true independence online is allowing them to go into the world, dropping them off somewhere, a completely different continent, and saying you're independent at the same age is exactly the same. We cannot give independence totally to our children right now. We need to help them navigate. We need to give them the parent controls. We need the critical thinking, the boundaries, the time limits. It really supports them as they get older and form positive habits. A lot of our children are incredibly anxious or stressed due to social media, due to being online a long time. It is only our parenting intervention that's going to support a shift and gaming actually be incredibly positive all of the time for our children. So these are some of the critical thinking things we'd like your children to consider or go through. Don't join suspicious servers, don't click on unknown links, and don't complete strangers. I want to give us time to actually have some questions at the end. So I'm going to whistle through YouTube, as I've spoken about it a few times, but I think it's very important to do so in the context of gaming as well. Now, for younger gamers, they will not go over to Discord or Twitch to learn more about what streamers are doing. They tend to go to YouTube, and they will get fascinated by the reels, and they'll end up in a muddiness of reel after reel of people gaming. And you'll see, this was just a click we did this morning to make sure that it was incredibly up to date about the type of content out there for Roblox and what they're actually watching in terms of what could you also do on Roblox. It is disturbing. It's something our children are viewing. Reels, I have a real problem with, in the fact that it's very hard for us as parents to monitor. It's incredibly difficult to ensure that our children are watching appropriate stuff. Our children prefer this to Netflix now. They're constantly scrolling through their reels, but the content is very it's very disturbing in so many ways, and it's a wider conversation of what can we do about this, because our children can access YouTube so readily. You can delete the app, they can go onto a browser. So it's very, very hard for us parents to monitor, but we do need to be aware of what they're watching and have conversations about, isn't this disturbing? Should you be watching something like this? Are you sure you like this? This is the place where we can start. Our children's algorithm are pushing them to view what YouTube wants them to view to generate content and generate revenue, and not particularly what I want my children to be watching on YouTube. So we have to be aware that we need to start manipulating our children's algorithm a bit. What I do is I go into their YouTubes and I subscribe to accounts that I feel are positive, that are role models. And by doing so, I'm sort of ensuring that I'm creating a more, I'm not putting them in the echo chamber of what YouTube wants them to watch. I'm allowing them to view things that I want to watch as well. And also not just always about gaming and Roblox and, Brawl Stars, that they're watching something else as well. So tips for YouTube, you can control the algorithm by being there, manipulating their space, block channels. You can, in essence, go over and set their settings to explore and explore more. But as a parent myself, I know how hard it is to work with YouTube parent settings, to the point that sometimes I find that you just cannot do it. So something to be aware of as well. and to discuss roles and influences, discuss critically assessing the media that they're watching, educate them to a realistic path to success and online communication. Now, I want to show you a video now as we talk about gender and gaming. And now this video is not appropriate for young children, but I want there to be an open conversation about how our girls are affected differently in gaming communities to boys. And though 50% of our girls are gaming, many of them do so pretending to be boys. And so this video is really impactful and sort of gets across what I would like to say a lot clearer.
When I started making videos, I already knew people were gonna give me shit for like my voice.
Back when I gamed in high school, I didn't use voice chat because if I did, I wouldn't be able to compete.
As soon as people figured out that you were a girl, like they just jumped on that.
Instantly.
We're going to test all this.
Hello. Testing.
Hello. Oh, there we go.
Well, there she is.
This is me as a girl. Sweet Bee, that's the name.
How long do you think it's going to take before he gets told to get back into the kitchen?
You guys got a microphone? You guys got comms? Anyone got comms?
It's the uncomfortable, like, silence.
I've never had people not respond to me before.
I just had 2 people leave.
Oh.
I'm searching again.
Where should I go?
Just shut your mouth.
Oh my God.
It wasn't even 5 seconds in.
Hey guys.
Well, that was smart.
What? What's wrong? Hopefully we win this.
Oh, sweet, go touch your
Whoa! I'm trying to play the game.
Here, that ain't make fun of your dead grandma. Oh, shit up, what? Shut up.
Is that a female? I want to baby.
Okay, mindful of time, I can share the link of the video as well, but you can see that our girls have a very different experience within gaming communities. I've actually been told in Singapore it can be the other way, with a lot of the male players wanting to support and help the girl and meet the girl afterwards. So either way, they are having a different experience when they are online. And there is a conversation to be had about cyberbullying in online communities as well. And with our boys having a conversation about respectful boundaries, allowing different communities and diversity within their communities as well. And with our girls, for keeping ourselves safe and being aware of how they may be treated, unfortunately. Here are some unfortunate facts that nearly 60% of our children will face cyberbullying. 2 in 5 teens have experienced online harm, and 23% have seen aggressive messages. What we ask your children to do, and please do the same, is to take a screenshot when this happens in their game. There are functions in all games to block and report. Whenever I download a new game for my children, I make sure they know where the report function is and how to do that, so that they know they have agency in their space, and report to a trusted adult. Always keep that open. Never treat your child like they did something wrong, or never take the game away from them. A lot of children don't tell us what's happened because they're scared that they will get told they're not allowed to game anymore. Actually, it's our job to do the parent controls, to do those settings to ensure that can't happen to them. We can go in, do that for them, put them back in a safe setting and let them enjoy their gaming space to others. And always speak to others. Again, we often don't communicate our issues in the online world. We need to start doing that as well. Now I'm going to end with question time, and also just to let you know, at Cyberlite, we have a wealth of free resources. We tend to try and give you as much of this information for free. There are parent guides and tips. There are conversation starters. All these questions I keep saying, ask your children. We have those over there that you can go through in a nice click format. And we have all those controls and settings that I keep talking about. So please do put your questions in the box, and Michelle will sort them out. And while we're doing that, we are working closely with Digital for Life, with the IMDA, to ensure that we bring the best conversations to you. Please do feel free to give feedback today on how this has gone, so we can get more support and work towards more conversations like this. Thank you for your time, and please do let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Nina. I'm going to jump in here and introduce myself. I'm Michelle. I am Nina's co-founder at Cyberlite. So we don't have any questions right now, so I'll reiterate again and say, if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A box. I see someone has their hand up, but because this is a webinar, we're unable to invite you to speak out loud. So it'll be very helpful just to put your questions in there. The most frequent question that we always get is whether or not you'll be able to get the slides, or we'll have a video of this. This session is being recorded, so we'll upload this up on YouTube by next week. So please keep a lookout in your emails, and we'll send you the link very shortly. I do see a question coming in that says, any tips to share if kids start showing frustration? Nina?
Yeah, so this actually, the reason our children show frustration is two things. One, if they're in a trance-like mode when you take the iPad or device off of them. So if they're watching YouTube, and if you go see your children's YouTube, it's lots of primary colors, is a lot of things that will put them into a trance-like behavior. So always a boundary at the beginning of a conversation when they are on YouTube, that you only get 20 minutes on YouTube and then you have to come out of it. And even with gameplay, putting a boundary before they start and then keeping to that boundary. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of something and the boundary's gone. So they'll be like, no, but, and so we both sort of lost any sort of credibility on both sides. But putting those boundaries on before you start, and then just keeping to that as well.
Yeah. We also have another question come in, and I think this is something that is quite a point of frustration for a lot of parents, is that their child keeps buying Roblox coins or Robux to a point that he's even using his own piggy bank savings without notifying the parent. So how can parents help and control this? It's become somewhat of an obsession.
Yeah, my major red flag here is there should be no way that your child should be able to access your credit card on Roblox to buy that without your knowledge. So if your child can just get in and buy Roblox coins without you knowing, you need to go and look at your settings to ensure that your credit card is not exposed, because they can keep tapping. We had one person who spent thousands of dollars before they realized that it was an actual real money situation. And the other thing is, Roblox is designed to create gambling behavior. It is designed to want you to come back and do more in-app purchases. So to stop this type of behavior very young, it has to be bringing down that amount that you're allowing to be transacted online, or limiting it altogether. For me, Roblox coins or Roblox cash is not allowed. You're not allowed to consume or use money online, because I know that it's a manipulation tactic to keep drawing my child back into it. So go see those games, maybe restrict the game that's asking for all the money, or block that game entirely and reset your child's needs for different games within the app.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on to that. If they already are kind of spending and buying in any of the games, including Roblox, and you want to stop that, one thing is to wipe out your credit card information, because sometimes, you know, as we know, a lot of apps store your credit card information to make it easier to buy these coins, to check out very quickly. So make sure that you just delete all the information on there. We also have links to parental control settings. I know for iOS devices, Apple devices, there are settings where the child needs to ask you for permission, you need to enter in your passcode, etc. So there are quite a number of boundaries that you can set in there. Yeah, the other thing that I do recognize is that I saw another question come in. In Singapore, there are lots of places, including 7-Eleven, where kids can buy the Roblox gift card. So it's actually a different way of purchasing purchasing online coins with real world money, right? So Nina, do you have any thoughts about how to control that?
Sorry, I completely forgot about this feature. Yeah, so this is, again, an incredibly a point of where your parenting lies with this as well, like where the money comes from, how you are going to allow them to spend it, and trying to get them away from those gaming features. Now, if you sit down now, hopefully you took a picture of the habits that are created by technology. Go through those with your kids, get them to recognize where they're being pulled in, where they've become a barking dog, and ask them, where else would you like to spend your money? Take them out. One of the other things is I've made sure each one of my children know what they're going to do next. So you're having gaming time, but tell me now what you're going to do next. So the first thing they don't do is throw the iPad and go, I'm bored, right? Because then that happens to all of us as well. That I'll be like, you need to tell me why you're not going to be bored once this gaming time is gone. So those things as well. Now, I will give you money, but this week we're going to do something fun and exciting with it. What else is it that you want? So resetting people, we need to form good habits and other interests in our children. We are in a sliding scale with our children where they don't know how to communicate effectively, that they aren't having friends or forming relationships on outside. We all go to restaurants in Singapore and everyone's on their phone. So we need to start resetting and reforming good habits.
Okay, I just have one last question. I know we're a few minutes over, but I think this is also one that all parents are probably thinking to themselves is when the screen time is up and a child is still asking for more time to play, how do you tackle the situation?
Every parent is nodding right now with you, so we feel your pain. There is no child who will not test your limits. A child is designed to test your limits. We know that. So we have to ensure that we have the capabilities and understand why we're doing it. And I think now you know and have the information that it is because they are being manipulated in some way to stay onto that game, that we can come in. So one, boundaries up front, two, know what they're going to do next, three, invest in an interest or something else that comes in after the gaming. We understand we cannot replace the gaming. It is integral, it's important to them. I'm asking you to take it away, but we need to be assertive and make sure that we get their buy-in before they get on the game.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Nina, if you can just skip to the next slide, I'll just share with everyone. Again, just to share with you all, we do work really closely with we do work really closely with IMDA. Nina, the next slide, please, the resources slide. Thank you. And you know, the government has done a great job of putting together the Digital for Life movement and providing a lot of free resources on parenting in the digital age. So we're also here to share with you more of IMDA's resources at the QR code here. And yeah, thank you again for joining us today. Have a lovely Saturday.
Bye-bye. See you.